Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Greetings for the day, for the evening, whichever time zone you are in. I'm based out of Dubai and it's exactly 7 p.m. today. I'll wait for 1 minute for participants to join and we'll exactly start at 7:01 p.m. Dubai time. Okay, we'll start now. Before I will go through today's agenda and talk about the tools and techniques, why we use them, how do we ensure that effective decision making takes place while engaging in managing projects. Before that, I would like to provide you a very recent insight. This is from Harvard Business Review, December 20. There was an article which says the project economy has arrived, and it's November, December. It was by Antonio Nito Rodriguez. He's one of the pioneers in project management. And what he has summarized the insights of industry stalwarts, academicians in project management, and all the practitioners. And the summary of this research paper and summary of this release, I will read it verbatim and you can understand where have we arrived from an industry perspective. We have seen revolutions like industrial revolution, then we had steam engine, combustion engines. Now we are in economy 4.0 where we talk about more about biotechnological revolution, and industrial revolution is now passe. We're talking about knowledge workers. Future is all very disruptive. And how does project management play a role in this future? I'll read the summary. It says by 2027, some 88 million people around the world are likely to be working in project management, and the value of project-oriented economic activity will have reached $20 trillion. Research shows that only 35% of projects undertaken worldwide are successful, which means we are wasting an extravagant amount of money, time, and opportunity. To take the advantage of new project economy, companies need a new approach to project management. We have to relook at how project management is thought, how it's managed, how it's run, so the entire mindset has to change. So which means the companies must adopt a project-driven organizational structure, ensuring that executives have the capabilities to effectively sponsor projects and train managers in project management. Now, it says a lot. So we can say that projects will now displace operations as the economic engine of our time. So project management is here to stay. Whatever technological revolutions you see, the more complexity we see, the more demand, the more want of a good project manager is always there. Having said that, so every organization will have to relook into, like we have been seeing digital transformation everywhere, and companies talking about getting transformed, but we have seen very few companies getting over the line because the word digital transformation is highly misunderstood, grossly abused, because companies at the end, most of the companies, they end up with a paperless office that they say it's digital transformation. While as the pioneers of transformation like Clayton Christensen, he says transformation is transforming a caterpillar to a butterfly. When you digitize your operations, a paperless office, you end up being a faster caterpillar, not a butterfly. So it requires a mindset. And project management is that driver of change which helps organizations to transform. In, to, in today's webinar, I will talk briefly about project characteristics to understand what exactly is a project and why it is important, why it has become the DNA of the organization over a period of time, and it will remain so because you need someone to manage the complexities of machine learning, artificial intelligence, bioengineering, or any other technological advances like IoT. More complexity, more demand for a good project manager who can integrate systems across, who can have excellent human skills, and who can bring everybody on the same page and define and derive value for the stakeholders. Now, today's webinar is titled Tools and Techniques for Effective Decision Making in Project Management. Over a period of time, we have seen the project management waterfall prescription being very prevalent, which means that projects were taken care of, managed and executed in phases, in sequences, and then few years later we saw agile project management coming to fore. It was there for quite some time, but because of technological advances, we could see agility getting more pace, and waterfall, receding, especially into manufacturing, especially into IT projects. But that still will manage from a tools and techniques perspective. There are tools used in both forms of project management, both waterfall, both agile, and there are very, very few instances where you'll say today's world we are managing a project in a waterfall environment, or we are managing a project in an agile environment. The best prescription is hybrid. There are certain phases in project management which you cannot, which is very difficult to yield in the agile environment. You just make sure they are handled in a waterfall manner and others in agile manner. Ultimately, it's business agility, and there's no prescription. It is fit for purpose for every organization, what kind of prescriptions they will use. So this series, this tools and techniques for project management is a very vast and deep subject. So I have divided this into 3 webinars. So I ensure that the attendees will remain and new ones will come, so that we understand exactly how tools and techniques are used from a project perspective, and how they are used in day-to-day work life, and how then we understand the tools and techniques used in waterfall, then finally in the agile world. Now, today we'll talk about project and its characteristics. What do we understand by a project and what are its characteristics? Then we will talk about tools like data gathering and data analysis. The second webinar, we will soon publish the dates for the second and third webinar. The second webinar will talk about data representation, which is how do you represent data to your stakeholders? How do you visualize data? It could be manual on a whiteboard, or it could be in the form of a tool. And then we'll talk about estimating, which is a very, very important technique. When you do project management, usually what happens, estimating goes awry if you don't have good estimating team, and then you have cost creeps down the line. Then we'll talk about, in estimating also, we'll talk about earned value management, how a project has to be monitored, how do we bring back a project if it's gone outside the control limits. So how do we do corrective and preventive actions? Then very important, we'll talk about interpersonal and team skills, how important it is for a project manager to have human skills. And in third webinar, we'll talk about the PMBOK 7, which has been just released, and the tools and techniques used there. So the main difference between PMBOK 6 and 7 PIMBOK 7, the earlier PIMBOK is that PIMBOK 7 is predominantly principle based. So while as the erstwhile PIMBOKs were all process based. But tools and techniques remain there. They are used in every context. Then we'll talk about agile tools and techniques in different agile prescriptions. And finally, we'll talk about PIMBOK 7 and disciplined agile mapping. Disciplined agile is a toolkit which is it's a PMI's agile toolkit, which is very which has taken good pace in the last years, and now it has been used across the enterprise, and it's one of the most sought after agile prescriptions, not prescriptions, agile toolkits, wherein it gives you more laxity, it gives you more width and breadth when you manage an agile platform, unlike platforms like Scrum and Safe. We'll talk about that in the last lecture. My name is Abdul Mobeen Khan. I am based in Dubai. So I have been with ProThoughts for quite some time now. I am their senior principal consultant. I train on DASSM, which is Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master. We launched 3 months back. We launched DASSM in Middle East, and we had a very good feedback, and we will have our batches coming soon. And then also we are launching PMP based on PIMBOK 7 very soon, and also Safe down the line. So what is a project? A project is defined as something which is temporary. It's an endeavor. A company undertakes a project. It's a temporary endeavor because it has a start and finish date. It might take 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, but it will finish one day, right? It will get completed one day. And then it has a defined beginning and end, and it has a defined scope, defined resources. So why do we undertake projects? Because organizations require change. They want to move ahead. There are different drivers for why a project is taken into consideration, and project is thought of. We'll talk about that. And then if we see from a PMI perspective, project management is nothing but the application of your knowledge, your project management knowledge, skills that you have gained over a period of time, tools and techniques that are indispensable for a good project manager. We'll talk about those, and you apply your skills, your knowledge, your tools and techniques to all the project activities to meet the project requirements. Finally, we have to derive value for the stakeholder, for the organization, for the performing organization for which you are undertaking this project. You might be a consultant, you might be an employee on that organization. So your ultimate goal is to derive value, to satisfy the organization from a benefits perspective. Now quickly we'll talk about why do organizations exist. We have for-profit organizations which are commercial, where their main aim is to maximize wealth. Then we have not-for-profit organizations like charities, clubs. Then we have cooperative firms or public sector firms which are owned by government. So all of these organizations drive changes only through project management. There might be a commercial underpinning in a for-profit organization, and for government it might be benefits for its citizens, but ultimately everything is managed and run as a project. Now, to understand where the projects come from, this is a typical strategic framework for every organization. This is for every organization. You have the topmost layer wherein your board of directors sit and CXO sit. So they decide their vision, mission, and they know what they need to do. It will tell us what do we need to do. Say, for example, a company has a vision of being #1 pharmaceutical company in 5 years time, or UAE wants to go to moon, right? So what do we need to do? So that strategic planning is taken into account, and then mission, vision, priorities, everything is created, and then it transcends down to the next layer, which is the tactical layer, where all the senior managers sit, and they will know, they have the capability, they have the wherewithal of how do we do it. Now they have the mandate. The organization wants to be the number one pharmaceutical in next 5 years. So these guys have enough capability, enough competence to know how to do it. And then they decide about the measures, the metrics, KPI plans. They decide how many projects, what is the target, who will do what, and then it goes to the lowest layer, which is the operational layer. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the all game is played. So this is typical of every organization. We have these three layers. Now, why are projects undertaken? Every organization wants to grow, because public sector organizations, they want to improve their overall reputation, they want to improve the civic amenities, they want more foreigners to come in, spend money, and reside there. They want to have good human indexes available for everything that they do, so that people say, okay, let's go for if we want to plan investment, and these are the countries we should go. They are stable economies, because this is what they want. They want to go to the future state in terms of stability, all the indexes, human index, safety index. And for a commercial organization, they want to grow. They want to first, they are being attacked by small incumbents who bring about lots of disruption, like Uber has, uh, Uber is there. There are other players also. We've seen companies like Nokia out of business, BlackBerry out of business. Like, why? Because they could not see this coming. So they were very staid. Inertia killed them. So they remained in the current state. So organizations, they want to move to a future state. And to move from current state to future state, they have to bring in change in the mindset, in the work, in the way they work. They want to add a new product. They want to enter into a new market space, and they want to see, because that future state is defined by their vision. So they want to reach there over a period of time, and in order to reach there, they have to derive business value, create business value, and that's only created by project activities. You undertake projects, different kind of projects. Now, project, there are different context why a project is initiated. You have to satisfy the stakeholder needs. Your stakeholder might be your organization who has sponsored it, or the sponsoring organization who has put in money, and then there are your key stakeholders, suppliers, partners, contractors. Or you might want to implement a change in your way of working. You want to go onto the technological advancement bandwagon, because you know that will give you a competitive advantage. Or you are forced to meet regulatory requirements, and then you have to undertake a project, right? Or you want to create, improve, or fix your existing project. So this is the context why organizations undertake projects. Like, it's either to drive change, so transforming business. What we do today, we want to elevate, we want to go to a different level, so we drive change. Or it is to enable business value. I want to enter into new markets, I want to respond to competition, I want a global name for myself. Or I have to meet increasingly complex set of challenges. Like, I cannot stay where I am, because technology is changing. I have to adapt technology. Now, because of globalization, there are barriers are very, very less. There are not stringent barriers to enter into a different economy. I can enter. So legal regulatory issues, I have to make sure wherever I go in terms of a new market, I address legal and regulatory issues. Or there might be environmental factors forcing you to undertake a project. Now, having said that, once you start the project and the project is undertaken, it will stop only because of three reasons. The first reason is that your need is met. You have created the outcome. The outcome has been derived of the engagement, and your sponsor, your stakeholders are happy, and you have a successful project. Or the second scenario can be the need could not be met. Company doesn't want to bleed more. They say that It's a failed attempt. They don't want to spend more and the project is stopped, right? Or the third is that the need no longer exists, that we have spent so much of time into creating this new product. All of a sudden, technology has been so quick. There has been a very quick technological advancement and we were caught unawares. This is what happened to BlackBerry. This is what happened to Kodak, right? They could not see what was coming. So then the need no longer exists for that kind of project, and then this is stopped. So this is how you um, co- complete a project, either terminated or the business need is met. Now, what is a project? We said yes, project is something which is temporary. It's unlike operations in an organization. Operations are day-to-day activities. They are monotonous. You do everything. Admin works in an organization are operations, but projects are um, endeavors which are created to derive value, to create value, and they are initiated because of that, and then they provide benefits to the stakeholders. And not all projects succeed. Projects fails. There are reasons why they fail. We just I started with this Harvard Business Review article, which says 35% of the projects fail. It's about trillions of dollars, right? And then what are the roles in project management? What we can do, how we can adjust ourselves, right, in project management. Now, projects are performed by people. It's always a people's game, right? So a project manager overall has to be a very good human skilled person, because it's ultimately he would end up liaising with his fellow team, his own team, stakeholders, outside world regulatory authorities, and suppliers, contractors. And project is always constrained by limited resource. Like you don't get everything at a go. So you have limited resources and you always have constraints, and you have those start and finish dates. It has to be planned well, executed well, and you remember it's always temporary in nature. So examples of a project like developing a new charger for a cell phone, like it's a very small thing that we don't even envisage. We talk about, yes, new phone has come, and see now we talk about, we don't see even a small charger for a cell phone is a project. Like expanding the service offering of a consulting firm. If a consulting firm has added one more service offering in its um, in its product kit or in its service catalog, that's a project. Merging two organizations, there, so there any endeavor which brings in change is a project. We talked about this. Okay, what is the value of project management? Project management contributes to organizational success. Organizations are successful if their projects succeed, if they are able to see that everything is aligned to their strategy. We saw that strategic, tactical, operational layer. So alignment is important. That's why we have metrics, we have KPIs, because those metrics are well thought of. They are designed by experts, performance management experts, and those metrics give they are an indicator of where we are going, right? That's why you can see those traffic lights against each metrics, red, blue, green, or yellow. That they talk about where we are going. Do we need corrective actions, yes or no? Now this is a simple example of a project. Say if we have just published a book, you see it starts with planning. It requires an approval, budget, planning, and ultimately it's shipped and sent to the customer. The role of the project manager is full responsibility and accountability. You fail, you succeed as a project manager, and it's a wonderful role. It's a very overwhelming role, but it's a very rewarding role. In the project economy, there has been a recent survey done by PMI about future salaries of a project manager, which are neck to neck to some very key technocrats. You are not far away from them if you are a good project manager. Now, a project manager would require three kind of skills. He has to understand business and strategic and business management. Like he should understand why the organization exists, what is the strategy, vision, and then he should talk the same language to his team. He should be a leader. He should have that we talk about servant leader mindset attitude, then of course he should have technical project management skills. He should understand how a project has to run, has to be managed. Now we always have challenge, in project management. This is just a snapshot of earned value management. We will talk about this in the next webinar. Now, why projects fail? Because requirements are ambiguous. This is the key failure, because we do not know how to do estimating. Estimating is an art. It is a science because it talks about numbers, but it's an art. If you have ambiguous requirement gathering, you don't understand requirements well, you're doomed to fail. You cannot control cost and schedule because you have estimated it wrong, and scope will definitely go haywire, and then you will have lots of challenges. So if you don't understand your stakeholder environment in the beginning, you don't know who you are working for, what do they need, what is in it for them, for every stakeholder, where we talk about stakeholder engagement, and then you're bound to fail. Now, there are different kind of project life cycles, like we talked about waterfall, and we talked about agile. So there are sequential overlapping phase activities. You will have some of the activities which are sequential, some of the activities which are overlapping, and there are predictive life cycle driven projects. For example, high ticket projects like, say, construction project. We're constructing a road, we're constructing a runway, we're constructing a bridge. We exactly know what we want at the end, right? So it's purely plan driven. We know what is the end. So these are predictive life cycles. And they are overwhelming from a tools and techniques perspective. So if we have, then we go to a different level of mindset, which is iterative and incremental life cycles and agile life cycles, wherein we don't know exactly what is the end game. The business need keeps on changing, and you require frequent revisits of your design. You require frequent iterations of your planning, and frequent iterations of the releases when you release a product, and you don't wait for the final milestone to create a project. Let's say, customer, here's your bridge. No, in agile life cycle, you break down your entire project into small releases, small increments, and you release them at a frequent interval, and that's what we call iterative incremental life cycles. Agile is nothing but a mindset. There are organizations, we say we are agile, they tend to do agile, they tend to do scrum, but their mindset is not agile. It requires a complete shift. It requires a complete unlearning of what they have been doing, and it takes great hand holding to get into an agile mindset and an agile way of working project management. Hope this has given characteristics of what exactly a project is and why project management is important. And there are 6 groups of tools and techniques which are commonly used in project management. Like, first is data gathering. You gather data when you collect your requirements. Then I'm just giving an example of data gathering. Then you have to analyze data. You have to present the data in a format which is which is meaningful and easy for stakeholders to make informed decisions. Then you should have excellent communication skills, decision making skills, and of course human skills. In data gathering, there are different subcategories. You can gather data using techniques like benchmarking, brainstorming, check sheets, checklists, focus groups, and statistical sampling. So we'll go through one by one and provide you a brief insight into what these are and how are they important into data gathering for effective decision making. Now, benchmarking is gathering of data on the best in class. So you are in an industry. Every industry has leaders, challengers, disruptors, and laggards, right? So leaders, you always look at leaders, you want to be one like them, so you have a reference point. So benchmarking is gathering data on the best in class, or your best in industry, best in organization processes. Some organization might have best practices, right, or processes, and you want to emulate them. So the information is used to as a target. So you use that information as a target to improve your own processes, to improve your own products, and to improve your own results. Like benchmarking is used in project management. It's used to it's used in projects heavily because you have to collect requirements, you establish quality metrics, and you see quality from the best in class perspective. You establish cost and schedule targets, and you then finally establish your stakeholder specification targets. Now, how do you do this? Like, you first you have to tailor. Benchmarking is a technique which you have to tailor for your need, for your fit for purpose proposition. Like, you identify the process or metrics that you want to improve first. Then if you are developing a new product or you're improving an existing one, you identify the aspect of product you are gathering data about. Like, you identify about this product, should I benchmark my design, the benchmark on the product's design, benchmark on the product's features, or benchmark on the project's release. So if you are using benchmarking for improving performance, you take a baseline measurement of your current performance. You see where you are today. If you're benchmarking the performance of your product against the performance of the leader in that industry, so you take a baseline measurement of your current performance. You identify areas in your company, then you identify areas in other industry players in the similar processes. Then those can give you an idea of your targets to measure against. So you create a target, and you may need to talk with industry peers, you may need to talk to consultants, you may need to talk to vendors, associations. Now, depending on who and where your target is, and what you are benchmarking, you may be able to easily identify the best practice, such as who are using a target that's internal to your organization, who is using the target that's external to an organization. So you have to gather data. Usually business intelligence works hand in hand, and you have to work with the consultant to find ways whether to determine how to achieve this performance. So we call this a performance gap. You have your current performance, that's a baseline, and then you have the target performance. So this performance gap has to be addressed. You have to do a lot of research, you have to talk to your peers, you have to look at competition, how they're doing, and then you establish what you have to do, then you set up the metrics. Here's a clear example of I've taken a scenario. Say your project is to help improve customer satisfaction with the phone support from IT help desk. Now, there are two options. Like, you see that your help desk provides you make a survey with your employees, with your customers, with your suppliers, contractors, and there are two types of communications which happen with your organization to the outside world. One is through the help desk, then the second is a security hotline. Like, security hotline means, let's say we're in a we're a cybersecurity company, and whenever there's a cybersecurity issue, some company has been hacked, there's a malware, services are down, they do not usually go through help desk, because help desk has its own way of handling things. They would first do triage and understand what this is all about, but then the security companies, they have enough capability and competence to identify, yes, this is a security threat, and then it goes through the security hotline. Now we are comparing this organization for these two types of services provided to the outside world. Now, this satisfaction data shows 62% of people rate their experience in calling the help desk as 4 on a scale of 5, and 5 for security hotline on a scale of 5, which means, so we see that the it is more skewed towards the security hotline. So security hotline, because the customers see that they get prompt response, their questions are addressed, they have a very strong feedback, their issues are resolved. So now this company will create this security hotline, becomes a benchmark. It is an internal benchmark, inside the organization. So they would try to emulate why their help desk cannot work like the security helpline, and then they will see they'll create a baseline of their help desk, and then create a target line of a security hotline, and see where is the gap in the process, why we cannot emulate a security hotline process, and then they can move ahead, and also the more improvements on security hotline. So this benchmarking target always moves, because companies grow. The leader that you are benchmarking upon might not be a leader tomorrow, or might grow more leaps, and then you again have to make sure that you manage that performance gap, so you are always there. So it's a continuous process. So organizations spend a lot of time in benchmarking. uh, the second tool is brainstorming. Like, brainstorming is used as a technique to generate ideas and options in solving problems. Now, why do we do this? Because while managing a project, now project management might get to a situation wherein he does not have he does not have lessons learned on this particular item. So they have not undertaken this project earlier on, and he does not find enough information in the research papers or somewhere. Or there might be a situation wherein the customer says, okay, I want to reduce the time gap, because there's a mandate from sponsor. Yes, can we crash the schedule? Can we change the way we are doing it, doing our work now? Can we uh, release more instances within a period of time, if it's an agile project? So now project manager cannot take a call, because it's always a team game. So a team is gathered, so everyone generates everyone talks about ideas, the ideas are generated, multiple options are provided, all options are finally gravitate to that particular problem to solve that problem. Like, it's always a group activity, and it has a facilitator. There should be a facilitator who manages the process. Like, now brainstorming focuses on generating quantity. Here quality is not is not something which is looked at. So we just, that's why it's called brainstorming. Storm, you just come up with ideas. We need more quantity, we need more data, we need more data points. So it's with the assumption that having a good quality of ideas will lead to having a good quality or outcome, because we can filter good quality from that vast quantity, and then that can help us with a quality outcome. Now, in the brainstorming session, it's very important. There's no criticism, right? All ideas are equal. We don't criticize. That's why everyone is open to come forth with his ideas, and all are welcome, including those that seem that they have really wild ideas. So there's nothing wild in brainstorming. Now, various techniques can be used to evaluate the ideas gathered in order to help identify viable alternatives. So you have now a lot of data points. So you generate lots of viable alternatives. Then you look at each alternative and see which one, how these alternatives are prioritized. Often during the process, ideas will build on each other. So because there is synergy, then a better result is produced than if it's only a project manager doing it alone, or with some few managers, which does not really work. Now, how to use it? Like, we identify a problem. So this is a problem, and brainstorming has always to be tailored for that specific need. So we identify a problem, and we have a goal in mind, or the outcome of brainstorming. So all the members of the state. They share their ideas, and the ideas are recorded. Usually what happens, we do it on a white wall. We have stick it notes everybody talks about, and we stick the notes, and then we 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 categorize the same themes in one column, and then we address each of that sticky note from that perspective, and then finally move on. We filter, and finally we arrive at ideas, at alternatives that we can usually work on. And there are different types of brainstorming. So you have group passing techniques, wherein you gather high level requirements, and each person has a category of requirements to work on. Each person has to write down his requirements, and then those pass to different people. Or we have individual brainstorming, wherein rather than being done in a group, individuals they do it alone, and then they provide data free. They are free to write, free to speak, free to draw mind maps, and then you have a facilitator who puts them all together. It happens when people are, it's a challenge to bring everyone at the same place, co-locate people at the same place. Then we have electronic brainstorming, wherein we have large diaspora of members who really are key to this, who will be key members to provide solution, who probably are subject matter experts. They are not co-located. So then we use electronic brainstorming and do exactly the same thing what we do inside a room. Now, check sheets. This is a check sheet is a tally sheet. We have done this in, it's a common mathematical tool, statistical tool. A check sheet is a tally sheet that's used to collect data. It can be used to collect data about defects or keep track of completing steps in a process. They say, for example, your project is to, we have a project is to help improve customer satisfaction with the phone support from IT help desk. Now, to understand the reason behind IT help desk, you have complaints. You create a check sheet and you tally the number of complaints by reason, by department. Like, is it and the number of complaints are confirmed, are collected, totaled by the vis-a-vis the number of departments which are there, and then you can tally it, and then you can see where is the total, where is the maximum total, and then you can identify, okay, this is where I have to focus my more efforts, more energy. Now, checklists, we all know checklists are a list of activities, steps, or procedures that we always do. It's a useful tool. It's a simple tool which we use, but it's good as a reminder for project managers. In projects, checklists are used to reduce or eliminate risks. We carry a checklist. We say, okay, if I say, for example, if we have to ensure that there are activities which are in my schedule, there are 100 activities in the schedule, and one activity has so many sub activities which cannot be documented in the grand schedule, wherein I have to make a phone call to somebody, I have to collect something from somebody, I have to send an email, and all this, it's quite overwhelming. But what we do, we usually we create a checklist, right? We use stick-it notes on our desktop, and we create a checklist what we have to do, when we have to do, and then we keep on checking it. And also I have seen good number of professionals who create a checklist before leaving the office, checklist for tomorrow, for 2 days, and then at the end of the day they see, okay, how much they have managed to accomplish. So this is a very simple tool which everyone uses. Now, focus group is a group of, you need qualified people. Like focus group, why we call focus groups are, if we focus on a problem which has a theme. For example, we collect subject matter experts on a particular issue, and these people are pre-qualified, brought together because they have information about that product, about that service. And you need a professional moderator who knows the subject well. He uses a question guide to focus on the direction of the questions. He asks the questions, and then The moderator also should have capability to observe behaviors and non-verbal cues. Somebody might say, might be reticent into replying to a particular question, but you might see that he's not comfortable. You can see non-verbal cues, you can see cues in his or her behavior, and then you also can record observations. And focus group moderators are professional moderators. That's why these are behavioral people, behavioral scientists who usually are used for some big professional focus group engagement. Now, we have to first establish the goals and desired for outcome. Okay, why are we doing the focus group? We have to establish the goals or desired outcomes at the onset. Then we develop a discussion guide that provides a focus for the group, and also it allows open conversation and that are not driven by the moderator. Moderator just he doesn't drive the open conversation, because he leaves that part open to the group. Now, we have to find a qualified moderator. When we talk about focus groups, we may want to hire a professional moderator who can lead the group. At least the moderator should have three qualifications. His ability to be very friendly, to be non-judgmental. He should be out of the group. He should not be part of the team, and he should be flexible, open. He or she needs to stay on the topic all the time. He should be able to ask open-ended questions and manage the conversation so that it is productive and not combative. He has to get rid of, if any conflict arises out of disagreement, so he has to ensure that the conversation is productive, and he or she should have understanding of this theme that we are talking about, and he should not have any vested interest in the outcomes of this engagement. Now, the focus groups are always recorded. Either now it's easy to record with a video, but we have to first get permissions of all the attendees. Then you have to set up a meeting logistics, such as it's not like brainstorming. You bring in people and say, okay, now let's talk about this. It's a very professional, focus groups are professional engagements. You have to set up meeting logistics, like you have to define the time, location, date, and duration. You have to identify and invite the participants. Ideally, you would want a cross section of potential users and also customers if you're talking about a product or a service. So you moderator will ask open-ended questions, close-ended questions, allow people to talk to each other, and then finally the information is summarized, it's rephrased, and everyone is given a chance to modify or to rephrase his statement. And active listening is very important, and then you ask for comments about responses, and then the data is assessed, and we look for patterns, themes, unexpected outcomes, and maybe out of this there might be some new questions that may arise, and that's how professional the moderator is. Now, another tool to gather data is statistical sampling. Now, statistical sampling is selecting a subset of population. Now, it's very important to be context aware. Like, you should know what is the context, what is the theme you are doing, why you are doing sampling, what is the outcome, what is your target population. But then you have to select a subset of population which is relevant to your theme. You select a subset of population because you to estimate characteristics and information about the whole population, which means this subset should represent the entire, if not the entire population, for majority of the population. So it is an art, and of course a science to identify, to select a subset of population, because if anything goes wrong in identifying that subset, your whole sampling gets awry. Like, selecting a subset is a more time and cost efficient way to reach conclusions, because you're not targeting the entire population, you want to be cost efficient, you want to be quick. That's why you use the subset of population. And it's about a group, instead of asking each member, you cannot go to each member. It's not like population census, you go, or you have these, you do vaccine to each and every individual. Like you cannot do statistical sampling in vaccine, or things like that, or while counting a population, right? Therein is a different ballgame. Statistical samplation is usually done to understand the patterns, to see exactly uh, how this subset of population represents the whole population, and if any decision is taken on this subset of population, it would definitely filter down to the entire population. Now, uh, statistical sampling can be used to infer behavior of a group. Like uh, what you do, you identify the population of interest, which I said it should be relevant, you should be context aware. You identify the variables you want to measure, and then you measure the variables from the sample. Then you implement the sampling plan, do some sort of statistical analysis, and then finally the most effective way, it's a rule of thumb, to select your sampler is to choose a random sampler or a systematic sample. And we do in statistics, we say every 15th percent, right? Every 15th percent should be the representation of the population. Now, we talked about data analysis. In our next webinar, we talked about data gathering. Sorry, we'll talk about data analysis, and this is very important. When you have a lot of data, what do you do with the data? You do all sort of analysis, alternative analysis, cost benefit analysis. It is very important. We know cost of quality now. Um, Regression analysis, reserve analysis in costing, very important, root cause analysis, SWOT analysis, variance and what if analysis. All of this we'll talk about in our next webinar, and hopefully all of you who are present today will join. And there's a code which you will receive in your email for claiming your PDU. And now I will open the floor for question answers. Please, if you have any questions, so I would love to hear them, and I would really profit from your insights, and we'll grow together. Any questions, please? Any a statement, a question, a feedback? While doing this, I will just run a poll. Please help me with the poll. Just answer the questions. Question number one: how was the session? Question number two: which project management course you're looking for? Because we talk about project economy. Question number three is: do you want to schedule a free consultant session? So you can answer three questions, and then we can further take it. And we still have 7 minutes, and the floor is open. And I will also share my LinkedIn URL and my local number. If anyone of you wants to get in touch with me, then that should be fine, irrespective of whether you want to get trained or whether you want to get on to the our trainings, irrespective of that. So I'm here available locally. I usually mentor people in project management, both agile and waterfall. So feel free to come to me anytime. So it's free of cost. I usually reply within 24 to 48 hours, but feel free, please. Okay, all of the participants have answered. So here you can see the poll results, and okay. Okay. Perfect. We'll get in touch with you. People who have shown their interest into certification. We will get in touch with you. And overall, uh, thank you very much for your participation. I'll end the poll, but I am still available for next 5 minutes. Anyone on chat? Why do you want to start a project to get profit margin? Okay, 1 second. Okay. Well, there's a question by Vijay Govindarajan, and why we want to start a project to decrease profit margin. Okay, I will just answer it once again. Yeah, the PDU claim code will be sent to you in the email, and you will have hopefully the recording of the session, and you can claim PDUs. Now, Viju, see, we talked about why we undertake a project. So decreasing profit margin is not a driver for undertaking a project. Usually companies um, grow their bottom lines. They want to increase their share of the pie of the industry landscape they are working in, they are operating in. So decrease in project margin, even if we see it from a performance management perspective, if we see the how we create or how we develop KPIs, using usually balanced scorecard um, perspectives. So one of the perspectives is financial perspective, wherein we talk about what is my net growth. Then you talk about what is my net profit margin, which always should be increasing over a period of time. That we talk about what is my net uh, uh, what is my net profit margin after taxes and after all the expenses. We call that EBITDA. Okay, and we do not see organizations do not undertake a project to decrease profit margins. Now there might be challenges inside the organization that profit margins are receding, and then we can address them but doing a root cause analysis and then identify why it's done. It might be an operational issue, or we might undertake a small engagement to fix that. Yes, about the Anand wished about the second and third webinar, you will get an email. All the attendees who are today here, they'll get an email about the dates of second and third second and third webinar, which should be not very far from today. And any other information you would like to know, you can send an email to ProThoughts. Okay, we have. Okay. We have 2 more minutes left, and last minute left now. I'll close at 8. The system will automatically close. And then thank you very much. It has been a wonderful engagement with you guys listening. I hope that you have derived some good benefits from the webinar, and there are some good takeaways. I'm available. You can just send your feedback, send your questions or queries to ProThoughts, and I will definitely. And I'll ask the host, today's webinar admin, to share my email and my details with you, my LinkedIn URL, so that you can get in touch. Nabil, is there an efficient process tools other than brainstorming to gather requirements? Yes, Nabil, yes, there are. There are tools, there are multiple tools to gather requirements. We have just touched the most widely used. You can send me an email and I will share with you the requirement gatherings tools and techniques that usually are good practice in project management. Alfonso, your webinar is very interesting. I would like to know if you are planning to have industry real project based training. Yes, yes, I do. I do real case. I do take real cases and I do trainings with corporates. And if you can elaborate more, Mr. Alfonso, and send us an email, definitely we will take care of it. I will ensure that your need is addressed, and further discussion if required, I'm open. Sarath Kashyap says, when would recording be available? Recording usually in a couple of days you'll get the recording. Dipankar Datta, thanks for a noble session. Thanks Dipankar. Hasmukh, thank you Hasmukh. Yes, Nandan Rao, you'll get the claim. Thank you Shahul. Thank you Viju. Thank you Shibu. Thank you all. So thank you very much. So I'll close the session and have you a good day ahead and good and prosperous day ahead. Bye bye. Thank you very much.